There aren't a whole lot of musical acts you know by name that basically have zero radio play, but you sure know the Dead, thanks in large part to their devoted legions of Deadhead fans that kept showing up at concerts for decades. But the Grateful Dead's transformation into one of the most beloved touring acts in the world was definitely a long, strange trip. For all the positivity the band embodied, they were also beset by a series of unfortunate incidents, controversies, and, ironically enough, deaths. Here's the tragic story of the Grateful Dead. Childhood trauma. When lead guitarist Jerry Garcia was 5 years old, a wood chopping accident severed a large chunk of the middle finger on his right hand, which he later claimed improved his ability to play the guitar. The same year, Garcia's father drowned during a fishing trip, and he and his brother were sent to live with their maternal grandparents. Eager to see the world, Garcia decided to enlist in the Army at the age of 17, but it didn't pan out. Garcia made it through basic training, but was given the boot that December, sending his life in a new direction. Woodstock flop. There were many iconic performances at Woodstock in 1969, but the Grateful Dead set wasn't one of them. By the time they took the stage, the band was ridiculously high, but their love of intoxicants was only the first in a series of mishaps that led to a lousy performance. On the night the Dead were scheduled to perform, rainstorms had turned the stage into a death trap. After a delay of several hours, the band was finally given an all clear and a reassurance that they wouldn't be electrocuted. By then, they were all on LSD, and recordings of the set reveal long breaks between songs, drug-fueled banter, and overall confusion that led to a sloppy 40-minute performance of Turn On Your Love Light. The band managed to get through 5 tracks before their amps overloaded, and they finally called it quits. Pigpen departs. Ron Pigpen McKernan was a founding member of the Grateful Dead and the first to pay the ultimate price for his vices. While the rest of the band explored inner consciousness with LSD, McKernan opted to stick with alcohol, and lots of it. In 1970, his doctor told him to stop touring with the band and fight his addiction. McKernan returned to the band in late 1971 and stayed through their 1972 European tour. Then his health took a turn for the worse. His final appearance with the band was at the Hollywood Bowl in June 1972. A year later, at just 27, internal hemorrhaging ended his life. His landlady discovered his corpse in his apartment 2 days later. Musical amnesia. Garcia struggled with smoking, drugs, and overeating for most of his life. These destructive habits began to get the better of him in the mid-'80s. According to the LA Times, in July 1986, an untreated abscessed tooth resulted in an infection, which led to a diabetic coma that lasted 5 days.
I just laid down one day and didn't get up.
When Garcia regained consciousness, he'd lost the ability to play the guitar and had to relearn all his songs and solos. Amazingly, the band was back to performing live by December 1986, 5 months after he emerged from the coma. Another keyboardist lost. After keyboardist Keith Godchaux left the band in 1979, the impressively bearded Brent Midland joined the Grateful Dead. Midland proved to be an asset through the 80s, a skilled keyboardist and a deft songwriter, penning a large portion of what would become their final studio effort, 1989's Built to Last. Midland's life ended in 1990 at the age of 37 after a lethal dose of heroin and speed. Losing Jerry. After surviving his diabetic coma in 1986, Garcia seemed like he was finally ready to kick his old habits. In December of 1987, he welcomed a baby daughter, his 4th child. His struggle to lose weight and quit smoking continued in the years that followed. In the summer of 1995, he checked into a drug treatment facility in Forest Knolls, California, and never checked out. A little over a week after his 53rd birthday, Garcia passed away in his sleep. They never quite hit it big. The Grateful Dead were undeniably popular, but they never enjoyed what you might call mainstream success. The closest they ever came to a chart topper was Touch of Grey, a 1987 track that made it as far as number 9 on the Billboard charts. Their albums didn't fare much better. The only studio album to make it into the top 10 on Billboard's album charts while the band was together was 1987's In the Dark. This was joined in 2017 by a live performance from 40 years earlier, Cornell 5877, which debuted at number 10. The Grammys weren't kind either, but the Dead did win Grammy Hall of Fame awards in 1999 and 2016, and a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2007. Poor Billboard performance didn't hurt their sales, though. As of 2014, they'd sold over 35 million albums. Rainbow Gate. Surviving band members gathered for a series of farewell concerts in 2015 dubbed Fare Thee Well, celebrating 50 years of the Grateful Dead. They did only 5 shows, but made over $52 million. The concerts were legendary, but according to Time, many tickets, initially priced between $60 and $200, were snatched up by scalpers and resold at outrageous prices. The negative press was severe. Rolling Stone called the series a cash grab, and Billboard even critiqued a rainbow that appeared over the crowd during the first show. Rumors claimed it was simulated and had cost the band $50,000. We may never know. Thanks for watching. Click the grunge icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel, plus check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.